think the report really is, unfortunately, provincial report, an evisceration of democratic oversight of the development industry and of our own shared built environment. And I think the province really has been doubling down on this sort of YIMBY versus NIMBY false dichotomy. And it's a narrative that benefits, industry and their financial backers, which really have had a huge effect on this report. I think recommendation after recommendation, we would see subsidies or save costs for development industry at the expense of taxpayers, residents, and democratic oversight. And the assumption is that making development more profitable for developers will make housing more affordable for residents. And we've not seen evidence of that. On the demand side, we know there's a lot of demand out there, and it is separated from the basic need for shelter. Demand for corporate income properties and demand for speculative investment. The only way to make housing affordable is to start taking it out of the market entirely and not letting the market run wild. And so housing is never going to be cheaper with simply more profits for developers added onto the bill, and deliberative development processes would be more efficient if the interest of private profit wasn't always pitted against community benefit. If the province is serious about affordable housing and housing affordability, then they should invest in it. That's the supply that's needed. We need public housing. There's not a lot of profit to be made from that, but that's what we need. And instead, we have a plan that really seeks to, develop 1.5 million new homes, none of which would be classified as non-market, as far as I can tell. And so we're very much talking about, we aren't talking about demand much. We're talking about supply. We're not talking about demand. And the tax advantages, the trading up of existing homeowners, the role of developers, which we often take down affordable housing and put up more units, but the units are usually double or triple the price that of the home we took down. And to Councillor McKenney's point, it's not just population, but homes have outpaced households. We are building in Canada. It takes into account those single living folks or the changes. Homes are outpacing households. Nationally, between 2006 and 2016, Canada added 1.636 million households and built 1.92 million new homes. That's CMHC and census data. So on average, almost 30,000 extra homes were constructed each year compared to the increase in the number of households. It's not just a supply issue is the point. That there is a supply portion of this, but it's not. The bigger factors are much greater than that. And Steve Pomeroy writes extensively about this. I'd ask all folks to read Steve Pomeroy on the demand side. It's not just the quantity of demand either, but the quality of demand that he writes about. And over the last few decades, we've seen supercharged demand, which has been created by households that have substantial accumulated equity from persistent appreciation in their home values, combined with strong income growth and declining mortgage rates. So I think it's taken for granted that and assumed that the surge in supply will have a trickle-down benefit for consumers, but the price of housing is not determined by that simple supply and demand curve only. Housing is not a typical commodity, and that's why it's not considered as part of CPI for that reason. So I'm really glad we're having the discussion. I just wish it came in a better context than it is right now, and I hope that the staff report can help create these arguments at the provincial level. So appreciate your work.